Chosen one, stop scrolling right now. Not because of coincidence, not because of curiosity, and not because an algorithm guessed correctly. You stopped because something inside you recognized this moment before your mind had time to question it. This is not just a video. This is a message from God, arriving in exact divine alignment, and it found you because this moment in your life is not random. Before logic tried to explain it away, before doubt could speak, your soul reacted first. That instant pull you felt was recognition, not imagination, not emotion. Remembrance, a knowing that comes from deeper than thought. And once recognition happens, it cannot be undone. This video is about why that recognition happened, why you were drawn here, and what it means for the awakening already unfolding inside you. If you're still here, it's because part of you already knows this message is personal. Now listen closely. If you have been waking up at 3 a.m., not once, not occasionally, but repeatedly, this video is about the true meaning of the 3 a.m. awakening and why it is happening specifically to chosen ones. This is not here to frighten you. It is here to ground you, because misunderstanding this signal is what creates fear. That confusion you feel when you wake up, that quiet frustration, that subtle question whispering, "Why does this keep happening to me?" None of that means something is wrong with you. You were taught to believe waking at night is a problem, a disorder, a failure to rest. But for you, it is not malfunction. It is communication. It is not your body breaking down. It is your awareness turning on. This video is about why your sleep has changed, what your soul is trying to tell you in the silence, and how your spiritual awakening and divine calling are activating together. What feels like disruption is actually alignment. What feels like interruption is invitation. And what you thought was a weakness is actually sensitivity coming online. If you've ever felt that these 3 a.m. moments carry meaning, if you've ever sensed that the night is trying to tell you something, stay with this message until the end. Because once you understand why the 3 a.m. awakening happens, how God's message reaches you in stillness, and what your role is in this season, you will no longer fear waking in the dark. You will understand it. And understanding changes everything. The 3 a.m. awakening is not a sleep issue for chosen ones. It is a spiritual signal. When the world goes quiet, when distractions fall away, when the ego loosens its grip, the soul finally has room to speak. And when the soul speaks, it does not shout. It nudges, it stirs. It wakes you gently, not with panic, but with awareness. That is why this moment feels different from anxiety. That is why your heart is not racing, even if your mind is confused. You are not being attacked. You are being contacted. You may have tried to reason your way out of it. You may have blamed stress, overthinking, or exhaustion. And while emotions are real and deserve compassion, they are not the root of this experience. The root is recognition. Something inside you knows there is more truth, more responsibility, more alignment, waiting for you. And recognition always comes before understanding. The soul feels first. The mind catches up later. This is why this message matters now, because without understanding, awakening feels like disruption. But with understanding, it becomes confirmation. You are not losing peace. You are transitioning into a deeper version of it. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. And preparation often begins with awareness breaking through old patterns of unconscious rest. If this resonates, if you feel seen rather than entertained, comment 777 as a conscious act of acknowledgement and alignment, not for validation, not for noise, but as a quiet signal that you recognize what is happening within you. Settle into this truth. Nothing is wrong with you. You are not weak for waking at 3 a.m. You are not broken for feeling alert when others sleep. You are sensitive because you are tuned in, and tuning in changes everything. The chosen ones are not called because life is easy. They are called because their awareness is necessary. Their light is necessary. And light, once activated, does not shut off on command. This message will not leave you anxious. It will not leave you fearful. By the end of it, you will no longer dread waking at 3 a.m. You will understand it. And understanding dissolves fear. Calm replaces confusion. Grounded certainty replaces quiet panic. You are safe in this process. You are guided in this process. And you are not alone in it. Now circle back to the beginning and hear this clearly again. This is a message from God. You are not imagining what you feel. You were called. The pressure you sense is not random resistance. The war you feel internally is real, because growth always meets opposition. Light always meets friction. And that friction is not proof that you are wrong. It is proof that your presence matters. Your light is necessary. Your awareness is necessary. And your awakening is not a threat to you. It is a threat to everything that survives on unconsciousness. That is why this season feels intense. That is why rest is changing. That is why the night no longer holds you the way it used to. You are being repositioned, not punished. Stand in that truth. Let it steady you. Let it empower you. You were called not to fear the awakening, but to embody it. And if this touched your soul, comment 111. Because you know it. You were called. Why chosen ones experience sleep struggles differently? Chosen one, return to the truth you heard at the beginning. This is still a message from God. Nothing has changed since the moment you recognized it. You are not imagining what you are experiencing, and you are not alone in it. You were called, and when a calling activates, even something as natural as sleep begins to change. Chosen ones experience sleep differently because awareness changes the entire inner system. During spiritual awakening, the nervous system no longer functions only for survival and recovery. It begins to serve awareness. The intuition sharpens, the subconscious opens, and rest becomes a space where truth surfaces instead of disappearing. For most people, sleep shuts the inner world down. For chosen ones, sleep often opens it up. When the outer world quiets, the inner world becomes louder. This is not because something is wrong, but because something is alive. During the day, movement, noise, and responsibility keep awareness directed outward. At night, especially in the deep stillness of early morning hours, those distractions fall away. What remains is the self, the real one. And when that self has been awakened, it does not go silent just because the body lies down. This is why your sleep struggles feel different from ordinary restlessness. You are not tossing and turning with racing thoughts. You are waking into awareness. Alert, present, sometimes calm, sometimes heavy, sometimes emotionally charged, without clear reason. This is not anxiety taking control. This is sensitivity coming online. Your divine calling does not turn itself off at bedtime. Calling creates pressure, not to harm you, but to move you forward. And when your outer life, habits, or beliefs no longer match who you are becoming, that pressure has to go somewhere. At night, when resistance is lowest, it rises. Old conditioning clashes with new awareness in ways that feel uncomfortable before they feel liberating. What once kept you functioning now feels restrictive. Beliefs you never questioned begin to feel heavy. Patterns that once felt normal no longer fit. Unresolved truth presses against silence because silence is no longer empty. It is alive. Unexpressed purpose looks for space to breathe because it has outgrown containment. This is not imbalance, and it is not instability. It is activation. It is the inner world recalibrating itself to a higher level of honesty, clarity, and responsibility. When awareness expands, it demands alignment, and that demand is felt most clearly when the outer world grows quiet. Many chosen ones were conditioned early in life to distrust their sensitivity. They were taught, directly or subtly, that feeling deeply was a flaw, that noticing too much was a weakness, that waking at night meant something was wrong. Over time, this conditioning taught them to suppress their inner signals instead of listening to them. But sensitivity is not fragility. Sensitivity is receptivity. It is the ability to perceive beneath the surface, to sense shifts before they are visible, to feel truth before it is spoken. And when that ability activates, life stops operating in the same shallow rhythms it once did. Sleep changes, awareness deepens, the inner world becomes impossible to ignore. There is also a common misunderstanding that waking at 3 a.m. automatically means anxiety, stress, or an overactive mind. But anxiety has a signature. It feels chaotic, rushed, tight, and scattered. The 3 a.m. awakening many chosen ones experience feels different. It often arrives with clarity rather than confusion, with stillness rather than panic, with intensity, yes, but not disorder. There may be emotion, but it is not overwhelming. Awareness, but not mental noise. Presence, but not emptiness. This distinction matters because mislabeling awakening as anxiety creates fear where none is needed. Another deeply ingrained misunderstanding is the belief that chosen ones are somehow failing at rest, that they are doing sleep wrong, that something must be fixed immediately. But rest is not only about unconsciousness. True rest also happens through understanding. When the soul feels heard, the nervous system softens. When awareness is acknowledged, the body relaxes. When truth is allowed space, tension releases naturally. But when the soul is ignored, when intuition is dismissed, when awareness is resisted, it persists because it is trying to protect alignment. What you are experiencing is not the loss of rest. It is the transformation of it. You are learning that peace does not always come from escaping awareness, but from integrating it. And once understanding replaces resistance, rest returns, not as numbness, but as grounded calm. This does not dismiss emotional reality. Exhaustion is real. Frustration is real. Wanting uninterrupted sleep is natural. But these experiences are not signs that you are broken. They are signs that your system is in transition, that something deeper is asking for alignment. This is why forcing sleep rarely works during awakening seasons. The body may be tired, but the awareness is alert, and awareness, once activated, cannot be shut down by willpower. It must be integrated. Understand this clearly. You are not being punished with sleepless nights. You are being invited into deeper honesty. The inner pressure you feel is not random stress. It is purpose pressing against delay, truth pressing against avoidance, light pressing against containment. And this is where the war becomes real. Not a war of violence, but a war of awareness. Light versus unconsciousness. Truth versus comfort. Growth versus familiarity. That war does not rage outside you first. It begins within. And when it does, even sleep becomes a battlefield. But hear this with clarity and strength. You are not losing this war. You were never meant to lose it. You were meant to awaken through it. Your light is necessary. That is why it cannot stay dormant. That is why it wakes you when others sleep. That is why your inner world refuses to stay quiet while the world demands unconscious rest. Return again to the beginning and anchor yourself here. This is a message from God. You were called. You are not imagining this shift. The struggle is real because the purpose is real. And purpose always creates friction before it creates peace. Stand in that truth. Let it empower you instead of frightening you. You are not weak for experiencing this. You are strong enough to carry awareness. And if this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it. You were called. The spiritual meaning of the 3 a.m. awakening. Return again to the foundation, chosen one. This is still a message from God. Nothing here is accidental, symbolic only in theory, or imagined by an overactive mind. What you are experiencing is real, and it has structure, meaning and purpose behind it. The 3 a.m. awakening is not random timing. It is a precise window where spiritual communication becomes clearer because the noise of the world finally steps aside. This hour carries significance because it exists between layers of consciousness. It is not deep sleep, and it is not full waking life. It is a threshold, a crossing point, a quiet passage where awareness can move without resistance. At 3 a.m., distractions fall away. The body is still. The mind is slower. The ego, which normally guards identity and comfort, loosens its grip. And when that grip loosens, truth rises. That is why this moment feels different from waking during stress or fear. There is often a strange clarity to it, a calm alertness, a sense of being present without trying. This is not interruption. This is invitation. The 3 a.m. awakening is a doorway, not a disturbance. It is the soul stepping forward when it finally has space to speak. This is how God's message often reaches the conscious mind, not through noise, not through force, but through stillness. When defenses are lowest, when the ego is quiet, when the need to control relaxes, awareness becomes receptive. Truth does not need to shout then. It can arrive gently and still be undeniable. This does not mean that every thought you have at 3 a.m. is divine instruction. Some thoughts are emotional processing. Some are memories releasing. Some are simply the nervous system adjusting. Discernment matters, but recurring awakenings are different. Patterns repeat for a reason. Signals return when they are not acknowledged. When the soul needs attention, it does not give up after one attempt. It knocks again and again and again until you listen without fear. This is where many chosen ones misunderstand the experience. They assume awakening should feel peaceful from the start. But spiritual awakening is not always calm in the beginning. Sometimes it feels disruptive. Sometimes it feels disorienting. Sometimes it feels lonely. That does not mean it is wrong. It means it is real. Awakening dismantles old identities. It challenges familiar rhythms. It exposes truths that were easier to ignore. And when that happens, discomfort is not failure. It is evidence of movement. The loneliness many feel at 3 a.m. is not abandonment. It is separation from unconsciousness. You are awake while the world sleeps. Not because you are cursed, but because you are called. Awareness creates distance before it creates connection. That distance is not permanent, but it is necessary. At this hour, there is no performance, no audience, no role to maintain, only honesty. And honesty can feel heavy before it feels freeing. Understand this clearly and let it settle deeply within you. You are not being tested to see how much discomfort you can survive, and you are not being punished for something you failed to do. This is not about endurance for the sake of suffering, You are being prepared to hold light with stability, clarity, and strength. Light that remains unconscious burns because it has no container. It overwhelms the system. It creates confusion and unrest. But light that is integrated heals. It brings order instead of chaos. And that integration does not begin with effort or force. It begins quietly, with awareness meeting truth in silence without resistance. This is why the 3 a.m. awakening continues until it is understood rather than fought. The repetition is not cruelty. It is communication. Once fear begins to dissolve, once resistance softens, once the message is acknowledged instead of dismissed, the intensity naturally shifts. The urgency fades. The sharpness dulls. Peace does not disappear during awakening, it emerges. It arrives when understanding replaces confusion, when curiosity replaces fear, and when trust replaces control. Awakening becomes less disruptive, not because it ends, but because it integrates. Now circle back again to the beginning, and anchor yourself firmly in this truth. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the timing, and you are not inventing meaning where none exists. The precision of this moment matters. You were called because something within you is needed, something real, something specific. And when something is needed, it does not remain dormant, it activates, it rises, it demands awareness. The war you feel is real, but it is not a war of destruction, violence, or loss. It is a war of awareness. Light against numbness, truth against comfort, growth against stagnation, consciousness against sleepwalking through life. This war always begins inside the chosen ones first, because they are the ones strong enough to feel it without running, strong enough to hold tension without collapsing, strong enough to carry awareness without rejecting it. Your light is necessary. That is why it wakes you when others remain asleep. That is why it refuses to stay hidden or dormant. That is why even the night cannot contain it. Darkness is not your enemy. It is the backdrop that makes your light visible. And now that your light has been activated, it is asking not to be feared, but to be embodied. Stand in that truth. Let it strengthen you. Let it replace fear with clarity. You are not being disturbed, you are being summoned. And if this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it. You were called. The inner conflict between rest and divine calling. Come back to the beginning again, chosen one, because the truth does not change as we go deeper. This is a message from God. You are not imagining what you feel. You were called. And what you are experiencing now is the natural tension that appears when awakening begins to press against an old way of living. Many chosen ones carry a quiet inner conflict they rarely speak about. On one side, there is a genuine desire to rest, to sleep deeply, to shut everything off and feel normal again. On the other side, there is a pull that refuses to quiet down, an alertness. A sense that something inside you is awake, even when your body is exhausted. This tension can feel confusing, frustrating, and sometimes unfair. But it has a purpose. Your divine calling creates internal friction when your outer life has not yet caught up with your inner truth. When the way you live, think, give your energy or delay your decisions no longer matches who you are becoming, the soul begins to apply pressure, not to harm you, but to realign you. And that pressure does not wait for a convenient time. At night, especially in moments of stillness, the soul finally has space to speak. During the day, you can distract yourself. You can push through, you can perform. But at night, there is no performance, no urgency from the outside world, only honesty. And honesty demands attention. This is why unresolved purpose surfaces when you try to rest. This is why unspoken truth rises when the room is quiet. This is why delayed action whispers louder when there is nothing else competing for your awareness. The soul is not trying to deprive you of rest. It is asking for alignment. Many chosen ones feel tired but restless, exhausted yet alert. Their body wants sleep, but their awareness refuses to shut down. This does not mean you are failing at rest. It means your system is recalibrating. Something deeper is reorganizing itself. Suppressed intuition does not disappear just because it has been ignored. It waits. And when the world goes silent, it speaks, not harshly, not aggressively, but persistently, because intuition exists to guide, not to punish. This is where the inner conflict becomes most intense. You want peace, but peace cannot arrive until truth is acknowledged. You want rest, but rest cannot deepen while purpose remains unresolved. This does not mean you must fix everything immediately. It means you must stop pretending nothing is changing. Understand this clearly. Nothing is wrong with you. You are not broken because you cannot sleep the way you used to. You are not weak because your inner world feels louder than before. Your system is adjusting to a higher level of honesty and awareness. This struggle is temporary, but it is meaningful. It is purposeful, and it is preparing you for stability, not chaos. The discomfort is not the destination. It is the passage. A mentor would tell you this plainly and with love. You cannot return to unconscious rest once consciousness has begun. But you can arrive at deeper peace once alignment replaces resistance. The friction you feel is not meant to last forever. It exists to move you out of stagnation and into truth. The war you sense is real, not a war of violence, but a war of priorities. Comfort versus calling. Familiarity versus growth. Silence versus truth. And that war always begins internally, because inner alignment must come before outer change. But hear this with strength and clarity. You are not losing this war. You were chosen because you can carry it, because you can hold awareness without collapsing under it, because your light is necessary, not optional. Your light disrupts unconsciousness. That is why resistance appears. That is why rest changes. That is why the night feels different now. Light cannot remain dormant once it has been activated. Return again to the truth you started with. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the tension. You are called into it, and calling always precedes embodiment. Stand firm in this knowing. Let it empower you instead of frightening you. You are not being pulled apart. You are being reassembled. And if this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it. You were called. The inner conflict between rest and divine calling. Come back to the beginning again. Chosen one, because the truth does not change as we go deeper. This is a message from God. You are not imagining what you feel. You were called. And what you are experiencing now is the natural tension that appears when awakening begins to press against an old way of living. Many chosen ones carry a quiet inner conflict they rarely speak about. On one side, there is a genuine desire to rest, to sleep deeply, to shut everything off and feel normal again. On the other side, there is a pull that refuses to quiet down, an alertness. A sense that something inside you is awake, even when your body is exhausted. This tension can feel confusing, frustrating, and sometimes unfair. But it has a purpose. Your divine calling creates internal friction when your outer life has not yet caught up with your inner truth. When the way you live, think, give your energy or delay your decisions no longer matches who you are becoming, the soul begins to apply pressure, not to harm you, but to realign you. And that pressure does not wait for a convenient time. At night, especially in moments of stillness, the soul finally has space to speak. During the day, you can distract yourself. You can push through, you can perform. But at night, there is no performance, no urgency from the outside world, only honesty. And honesty demands attention. This is why unresolved purpose surfaces when you try to rest. This is why unspoken truth rises when the room is quiet. This is why delayed action whispers louder when there is nothing else competing for your awareness. The soul is not trying to deprive you of rest. It is asking for alignment. Many chosen ones feel tired but restless, exhausted yet alert. Their body wants sleep, but their awareness refuses to shut down. This does not mean you are failing at rest. It means your system is recalibrating. Something deeper is reorganizing itself. Suppressed intuition does not disappear just because it has been ignored. It waits. And when the world goes silent, it speaks, not harshly, not aggressively, but persistently, because intuition exists to guide, not to punish. This is where the inner conflict becomes most intense. You want peace, but peace cannot arrive until truth is acknowledged. You want rest, but rest cannot deepen while purpose remains unresolved. This does not mean you must fix everything immediately. It means you must stop pretending nothing is changing. Understand this clearly. Nothing is wrong with you. You are not broken because you cannot sleep the way you used to. You are not weak because your inner world feels louder than before. Your system is adjusting to a higher level of honesty and awareness. This struggle is temporary, but it is meaningful. It is purposeful, and it is preparing you for stability, not chaos. The discomfort is not the destination. It is the passage. A mentor would tell you this plainly and with love. You cannot return to unconscious rest once consciousness has begun. But you can arrive at deeper peace once alignment replaces resistance. The friction you feel is not meant to last forever. It exists to move you out of stagnation and into truth. The war you sense is real, not a war of violence, but a war of priorities. Comfort versus calling. Familiarity versus growth. Silence versus truth. And that war always begins internally, because inner alignment must come before outer change. But hear this with strength and clarity. You are not losing this war. You were chosen because you can carry it, because you can hold awareness without collapsing under it, because your light is necessary, not optional. Your light disrupts unconsciousness. That is why resistance appears. That is why rest changes. That is why the night feels different now. Light cannot remain dormant once it has been activated. Return again to the truth you started with. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the tension. You are called into it, and calling always precedes embodiment. Stand firm in this knowing. Let it empower you instead of frightening you. You are not being pulled apart. You are being reassembled. And if this touched your soul, comment 111 because you know it. You were called. How chosen ones are meant to respond to 3 a.m. awakening. Return again to the beginning, chosen one, because guidance only makes sense when it rests on truth. This is a message from God. You are not imagining what is happening to you. You were called, and now that you understand why the 3 a.m. awakening happens, it is time to understand how you are meant to respond to it. The goal is not to fear 3 a.m., and it is not to fight it either. Fear creates tension, and tension amplifies the experience. Forcing sleep turns awareness into anxiety. Neither response brings peace. The invitation here is different. It is to listen without obsession, to acknowledge without dramatizing, to be present without turning the moment into a problem that needs to be solved. When you wake at 3 a.m., the most important shift is internal. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" You begin to ask, what is being shown to me? That single change moves you out of resistance and into alignment. Awareness softens the nervous system. Acceptance quiets the inner battle. Healthy response does not mean staying awake all night searching for meaning. It does not mean spiraling into thought or forcing insight. It means grounded awareness, a calm noticing, a gentle acknowledgement that something within you is awake and asking for space. Sometimes that space is silence. Sometimes it is reflection. Sometimes it is a quiet, prayerful stillness that does not ask for answers, but offers openness. Sometimes it is simply saying inwardly, I hear you, and allowing the body to settle again. Not every awakening requires action. Some require presence. This is how chosen ones learn balance. Spiritual awakening does not demand constant wakefulness. It does not require suffering to prove worthiness. Alignment is not deprivation. Alignment is harmony between awareness and rest. Rest is still sacred. Sleep is still necessary. Peace is not something you must sacrifice to awaken. Peace returns naturally as integration happens. When the soul feels acknowledged, it stops pushing so hard. When awareness is welcomed, it becomes gentler. This is why obsessing over the meaning of every 3 a.m. moment backfires. Obsession tells the nervous system there is danger. Listening tells it there is safety. The body responds to safety with relaxation. The mind follows. Trust yourself here. You do not need to interpret everything immediately. Awakening unfolds in layers. Some understanding comes through words. Some comes through feeling. Some comes later, when life rearranges itself to reflect the inner shift. Confidence grows when you stop trying to control the experience and start cooperating with it. Self-trust grows when you realize you do not need to force peace. Peace emerges when resistance ends. There may still be nights when sleep is lighter. There may still be moments of alertness, but they no longer carry fear. They no longer feel like failure. They feel like communication that you know how to hold. And as alignment deepens, the pattern softens. Not because awakening stops, but because it integrates. Awareness becomes part of daily life instead of interrupting it at night. The message moves from disruption to embodiment. This is how chosen ones mature in their awakening. Not by chasing signs, not by glorifying struggle, but by standing steady in awareness without losing grounding. Now return once more to the truth you started with and let it anchor you fully. This is a message from God. You are not imagining your experience. You were called because something within you is needed, and when something is needed, it must awaken. The war you feel is real, not a war of chaos, but a war of consciousness. Light against numbness, truth against comfort, awareness against sleepwalking through life. That war does not destroy you. It forges you. Your light is necessary. That is why it wakes you gently, instead of letting you disappear into unconscious rest. That is why you are learning how to carry awareness with peace instead of fear. You are not here to burn yourself out. You are here to embody truth with stability. And that stability begins with how you respond to the quiet moments when the soul speaks. Stand in that power. Trust yourself in it. You are not behind. You are right on time. And if this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it. You were called. Confirmation, alignment, and the return of peace. Come back with me to the beginning, one final time, chosen one, because endings only matter when they seal the truth. This is a message from God. It always was. You are not imagining what you have experienced. You are not misreading the signs. You are called, And what you feel right now, deep inside your chest, is confirmation. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not failing at life. The sleep struggles you faced were never a verdict on who you are. They were a chapter, not a life sentence. A passage, not a punishment. A season of awakening that asked you to become conscious of something you could no longer ignore. As alignment deepens, rest returns. Not always in the same way it existed before, but in a more aware, more grounded, more peaceful form. You do not lose peace through awakening. You redefine it. You stop chasing unconscious rest and begin to experience conscious calm. This is the moment many chosen ones miss because they expect transformation to look dramatic. But true alignment feels quieter than confusion. It feels steadier than fear. It feels like relief, even if nothing on the outside has changed yet. That is how you know integration has begun. This message reached you on purpose. Not early, not late. Exactly when you were ready to hear it without running from it. Awareness is the turning point. And the fact that you stayed with this message, the fact that it resonated instead of irritating you, is proof that awareness has already taken root. You are no longer fighting the 3 a.m. hour. You are no longer afraid of waking into silence, because now you understand it. You see it for what it is, a space of listening, a moment of truth, a signal that your inner world is alive and responsive. And once fear leaves, power returns. Chosen ones are not chosen because they are perfect. They are chosen because they are willing to see, willing to feel, willing to stand in awareness even when it disrupts comfort. That willingness is what makes your light necessary. The war you sensed was never about sleep. It was about consciousness. It was about whether you would remain numb or awaken into responsibility, whether you would silence your intuition or learn to hold it with stability. You chose awareness, even before you had language for it. That choice is why peace returns now, not as escape, but as embodiment, not as collapse into unconsciousness, but as calm within clarity. If you feel aligned with this truth, comment 777 as a closing seal, not as a request, not as a performance, but as an acknowledgement between you and what called you here. And now hear this with authority and reassurance. You are not meant to fear the night. You are meant to understand it. You are not meant to be ruled by awakening. You are meant to embody it. Your light does not exist to disturb you. It exists to guide you. And now you know how to listen without losing yourself. Return once more to the deepest truth and let it anchor you fully. This is a message from God. You were called because something in you is required. The resistance was real because the purpose is real. And your light is necessary because not everyone can carry it without running from it. You can stand grounded in that knowing. Let it settle your nervous system. Let it quiet your doubt. Let it replace fear with calm strength. You are not late. You are not lost. You are exactly where alignment begins. And if this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it. You were called.